All right, so get ready, because we are diving deep into the world of Labyrinth.
Yeah.
And more specifically,
The game.
the 1986 computer game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is exciting because, when we're talking about source material for these dives,
Right.
this is a treasure trove. We have got the original design document.
Oh, wow.
We've got an interview with David Fox, who designed the game.
Okay.
And of course, we have reviews.
Yeah.
Because you can't talk about a game without talking about...
They got to see how it landed.
Exactly. How do people feel about this?
Well, then.
Both then, and you know what? There's a few more contemporary reviews in here, too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so this is somebody who clearly doesn't just want to play the game. This is someone who wants to understand it.
Wants to know the history. What were they thinking?
Exactly. So to understand it, I think the best place to start is to go right to that design document.
Okay.
And this thing, man, this is like opening a window into an alternate gaming history, right?
Yeah.
Because
Tell me more about that.
they had big plans, big plans.
Yeah.
Okay, so picture this. A massive, multi-level maze,
Okay.
customizable player characters, and a 13-hour real-time clock,
Oh, my gosh.
like ticking down as you try to outwit Jared.
That's so ambitious.
So ambitious. It's so far from what actually ended up on those floppy disks.
It really is. I mean, it's so cool to hear that that was the initial vision, what they were going for.
Yeah.
But I mean, can you imagine that blend of Oregon Trail with resource management, but
Yeah.
it's Labyrinth and you're on the clock the whole time?
Oh, absolutely.
That's intense.
Yeah, talk about pressure. And it's funny because even in the design document,
Yeah.
it mentions floppy disk space.
Oh, right.
And I'm like,
Right.
how many people listening even remember
Right. That was the thing.
putting a floppy disk in their computer? It's a whole different world.
I mean, it makes you appreciate how far we've come.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But also how innovative they had to be
Yes.
with those limitations, right?
Oh, 100%. And one of the things they talk about in here is this concept of the word wheel.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear your take on this because this was David Fox's, big contribution.
Yeah.
But it really changed how we interface with these games.
Oh, absolutely. So back then, you had these adventure games, and they relied on text parsers, which meant you had to type out exactly what you wanted to do.
Open door.
Open door. But you better get the syntax right,
Oh, yeah.
because if you miss a space, if you misspell something, the game's not going to know what you're talking about.
It just sits there and stares back at you.
Exactly. And so David Fox saw this and was like, this is clunky, there's got to be a better way.
Right.
And so he comes up with this word wheel, which is so much more intuitive, right?
Absolutely, because instead of having to know the exact command,
Right.
you can kind of feel your way through it.
Exactly. It gives you the options. You don't have to guess what the game wants you to say.
It's like having a map as opposed to trying to navigate by the stars. Both can get you there,
Sure.
but one's a lot more user-friendly, right?
Absolutely. And what's interesting is that the word wheel, as revolutionary as it was,
Right.
kind of paved the way for those point-and-click interfaces
Right, yeah.
that we'd see later in, Lucasfilm games
Right.
with their Scum Engine games,
Yeah.
which, those games owe a lot to those early experiments.
Oh, absolutely. You can totally see the DNA there. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just, the technological innovations. I mean, this is a game based on a Jim Henson movie,
Right.
which already has, kind of a quirky, creative vibe.
Absolutely.
But did you know that Douglas Adams was involved in this?
No way.
Douglas
Adams. Yeah, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy guy.
Get out of here. Seriously.
Yeah, he was in on some of those brainstorming sessions.
Oh, wow. I mean, that explains so much. You can totally see his fingerprints all over some of the puzzles.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like that whole Adam Bray elephant thing.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
It's so absurd. So Douglas Adams.
Yeah, it's like he took a little bit of that Hitchhiker's Guide magic
All right.
and sprinkled it right into the Labyrinth universe.
I love it.
Which, I mean, speaking of, we've talked about the design document a little bit
Yeah.
and those big, grand ambitions.
Absolutely.
But then, there's the reality of what ends up on those floppy disks,
Right. The limitations.
the limitations of the technology. And it's fascinating to see how those creative choices, actually play out.
Totally. And what's a really good window into that?
Yeah.
Is looking at the reception of the game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because
How did people actually think?
you can have the best idea in the world, but if it doesn't land,
Exact.
then it doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
these reviews are interesting because they're all over the place, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. There are some folks who were just blown away by the graphics,
Okay.
which for the time were pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, 1986.
Yeah, you got to think about that. Like,
forget high res.
just seeing a character move smoothly across the screen was a big deal.
Totally.
And then you've got those who are like, this word wheel is revolutionary. It's so intuitive.
Right.
But then on the other hand, you've got people who are like, this is tedious. The mazes are repetitive.
Yeah, I could see that.
And it's like, it's all about perspective, right?
It's all about context.
Because like, yeah, today those graphics might seem a little bit,
little bit dated.
Yeah. But back then, that was cutting edge.
Absolutely. Pushing the boundaries.
Exactly. It's like comparing the special effects in the original Star Wars to something like Avatar,
Boy.
Both groundbreaking in their own way, but worlds apart, right?
Absolutely. So where do we think this leaves Labyrinth, the computer game?
Yeah, I mean, looking back at it now, knowing what we know about the development, the reception, where does it fit in?
I mean, it's easy to look at it now, especially compared to the STEM engine games that came later.
Right. Maniac Mansion, Monkey Island.
Like, those were huge hits.
They were massive.
And they kind of overshadow a lot of those earlier attempts.
Right. It's like Labyrinth almost gets lost in the shuffle a little bit.
Yeah. And it's interesting, though, because you can see...
Oh, totally.
Like you were saying, that DNA...
Oh, absolutely.
Like, those early experiments in Labyrinth really led to those later successes.
100%.
I mean, the word wheel, for example, as clunky as it might have been, that was the foundation.
It planted the seed.
Exactly. For the point-and-click interfaces that defined those later games.
It did, and you could even see it in the storytelling.
Oh, absolutely.
That focus on humor.
It's that
puzzles.
Yeah.
Like, it all kind of started here.
In a way, yeah, Labyrinth. It's like, the slightly awkward but charming older sibling to those later classics.
Who maybe didn't quite find the same level of fame.
Right, exactly.
But paved the way,
Totally, but the story doesn't end there.
It doesn't.
No. There's another Labyrinth adaptation.
And you're talking about the Famicom game.
Yes.
The Japanese one, yeah.
The Dungeon Crawler.
Which is so wild because it's like they took the same source material.
Right, same world.
Same characters, same everything.
And did something totally different with it.
It's a completely different genre.
It really goes to show,
What were they thinking? I mean, what if...
Like, what if they'd gone in a completely different direction?
Like, imagine a Labyrinth rhythm game.
Oh, my God.
Where you have to, dance battle Jareth.
Or, like, a dating sim.
Oh, my God.
Where you got to win over Sarah.
Yes.
That would be amazing.
Oh, the possibilities. But for now, I think...
Back to 1986.
Back to 1986. Back to the computer game. It might not be, the most well-known game out there.
Right.
But having spent some time with it, looked at the design document, read the reviews, it's clear that this game has a special place. Oh, absolutely.
In gaming history.
It's a fascinating little piece of the puzzle.
It really is. So, for you listening, I'm curious.
Yeah, what do you think?
What surprised you? What stood out to you? Was there anything in the design choices?
The challenges they face.
The reception, anything that resonated with you?
Did it change how you see the game at all?
We'd love to hear your thoughts, because ultimately that's what makes these dives so much fun, right?
Totally.
It's all about sharing those discoveries.
And connecting with other people who love this stuff as much as we do.
It really makes you appreciate, all the pieces that had to come together.
Right. All those happy accidents.
To get us to those games that we love today,
Absolutely. And it's easy to forget about those early steps.
Yeah.
Those missteps, those experiments.
Totally. And Labyrinth is a perfect example of that, right? It's like, It's not just a game, it's a time capsule.
Oh, I love that.
A time capsule.
Like, 1986 gaming.
Absolutely.
The technology, the ambition, all of it.
And the creativity, right? Like, they had to get so creative.
100%. 100%.
To work within those limitations.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes these deep dives so fascinating, right?
Totally. It's like...
It's not just about playing the games.
No.
It's about understanding them.
Understanding the context, the history.
The why behind it all.
Yeah. Why were these decisions made?
Exactly. So as we kind of, come to the end of our little journey here.
Our labyrinthine journey.
I love that.
Yeah.
What's your big takeaway? What's sticking with you?
I think for me, it's that reminder that even those games that maybe weren't critical darlings, weren't these huge commercial successes,
right?
They still have these amazing stories to tell.
They really do.
And they can teach us so much about where we are now.
Absolutely. And, for everyone listening, we hope that this deep dive has given you a little bit of a new perspective on Labyrinth, on game development, on the whole shebang.
On those early days of gaming, for sure.
Absolutely. So, until next time.
Happy gaming.
Keep exploring, keep those controllers warm, and we will see you in the next deep dive.